You know, there are three elements that are in all good music: melody, harmony, and rhythm. Now, we can use these as building blocks to develop our own improvisation. What you have to do is think about your own playing and think about which of those elements are the weakest in your playing. That is, are you weaker in making up good melodies when you improvise? Or are you weaker in the variety of harmonies that you use? Or are you weaker in your rhythmic pulse? That is, does it lack this spirit for swinging, for having this energy in your playing? Well, whichever of these elements is the weakest is the one you should be working on to develop. And then after that one, there's two elements left. Which one of those is the weakest? That's the next one you should work on. And what this does is it helps to develop your total improvisational skill and keeps you from being lopsided. You know, there are many musicians who are very strong in one of these, or two, but very few are strong in three. And those three, coupled with originality, is what makes the great, great players that we have today. One way that I like to think about it is that as an improviser, you have the possibility of really having a magnificent musical automobile with 3 cylinders. But if you're not using all 3 cylinders, you're kind of lopsided. You're not using all of the things to make your music rich. So I'd like to discuss each of these elements with you separately. Now, some of the things to think about when you strive to improve yourself in terms of melodic playing is not to use scales, not to use arpeggios, not to use licks and devices, but let something well up in you that is a kind of a musical line that you would be very happy singing this line, or it might sound very beautiful if you set words to it. It's a melody, and all melodies have a rise and a fall. They don't just move in a scale-like manner or an arpeggio, and they're not really predictable. There are little curves, there are little surprises. It goes up to a certain note, and it drops down to another note, and there's a little interest, there's tension. It's not a predictable kind of rise and fall. So keep that in mind. One of the best things you can do is, as you conceive this, is it singable? Is it lyrical? Is it something that a human voice might sing? And especially if you think of it in your mind first, there's every chance that it will be more melodic than if you were just to go to the guitar and think only of the chords. So keep that in mind. Do strengthen your playing melodically. I'll give you some examples of melodic and non-melodic playing. If I were, for instance, to use C, A minor, D minor, and G7 as a basic harmonic progression. And if I were to improvise, I would want to try to make it melodic. Now, I wouldn't be playing scales. I wouldn't be playing things like and I wouldn't be playing arpeggios. But I would try to make something fit those chords, but it's melodic. Things like that. Another thing to consider is the standpoint of being a harmonic player. Try to avoid harmonizing all of your songs in the same manner. Try to find more variety in your harmonies. Not only the different inversions you use, but actually the treatment of each song. Avoid harmonizing similar progressions all the time. That is, when you hear a certain melody, do not strive to harmonize it in the same manner all the time. Try to find other chords that will work, interesting chords. Try to find harmonies that are not totally abrasive or discordant or create a lot of dissonance. Neither are they bland and tranquil. But really, the best music you can make is music that occasionally moves into some sort of tension, and then that tension resolves itself. This enriches your music. So as you play, and you play harmonically, do not simply run chords. In other words, you don't want to take a solo where what you're doing is simply running the chords or the scales of the song, but you want to make up melodies, and those melodies are rich melodies, but they infer all of the harmonies that you're using. This will be of tremendous help to you in enriching your playing harmonically. Now, another thing we need to talk about is rhythmic playing. And there's many things to think about in terms of rhythm. One of the things to bring to your attention is as you play, strive to be a good timekeeper. And by that I mean strive not to rush or drag the tempo. Try to stay in the tempo. Now, once you're in the tempo, there are several ways of even thinking about that. You can think about playing on top of the beat or on the beat or a little bit behind the beat. But the thing is, it's your attitude in relation to the beat, but you're still not rushing the tempo. I think the best way I can explain it is if you were sitting in a chair, you're sitting in that chair and no other chair, and you're not standing, but sitting in that chair. Yet within that chair, you can be sitting forward in the chair, which would be very much like playing on top of the beat. You're not rushing the beat, but you're anticipating. You're sitting in front. The other way is you're sitting squarely in the middle of the chair, which is you're playing on the beat. And the other way, you're very laid back or relaxed. You're laid back because you're laying back in the chair with your back against the support there. Yet, in music, it's the same way. Without rushing and without dragging, try to play in such a way that at any given time, you can play on top of the beat, a little aggressive but not rushing, or you can play simply on the beat, which is very square on the beat, or you can sort of play behind the beat. That is, you're playing, thinking of the beat, staying with the beat, but kind of always playing catch-up, just a little bit behind it, but not rushing it. Now, another thing to think about in terms of playing rhythmically is as you play any given tempo, try to think about, if it's very fast, try to think about playing half time. That is, if the tempo were 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, in that manner, try to think about playing half as fast, to be playing that tempo, but you are playing things that are half as fast. Another thing would be to think of playing double time. You're playing twice as fast. For instance, if I were playing a tempo this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. This same tempo I could be playing, but I would be also playing double time against it. I'm playing twice as fast as the metronomic beat. This gives you variety in your playing. Another thing to think about is, as you play, to think about the rhythmic impulse. That is, to play it in such a way that you play it very legato or very smoothly, that there's almost no picking. There's very little picking. There's very little percussion. It's almost as though you were playing. Very delicate, very lacy, very filmy. Another way is that it's just simply very even and you're picking. It'd be very similar to on a horn, it'd be legato tonguing. It's just very smooth, but it's all mostly picked. Another way is that by using downstrokes on the guitar and playing short notes, you play a sort of a jabbing type, a very percussive. It has a lot of punch in it, and this is a rhythmic consideration. It makes your playing sound more urgent. It makes it sound more explosive, and it makes it swing more when you need that kind of emphasis, such as like this. Instead of playing, I'm using mostly down picks, and I'm playing very hard. Not necessarily loud, but I'm picking hard. I'm using a lot of pressure from my hand to make this statement and to make it very percussive. So those are some of the things to think about in terms of enriching your playing from the standpoint of melody, harmony, and rhythm. Another thing I'd like to tell you is as you play, think about it as being an overall statement, just as though you were making a speech somewhere. What are you saying? That's more important than the equipment you're using or how you're sitting and all these things. It's the musical statement, and that statement should be your personal voice playing, not playing fills, not playing a background, but out there in front making a statement. So when you make a solo, when you're playing a solo, don't use material in that solo that you would be doing as playing a background for a vocalist or for a horn player, but make it a real statement. If you wish to play some of the melody, that's up to you. If you wish to make it stronger from the rhythmic standpoint or melodic or harmonic, that's up to you. Or if you want to make it balanced so that you're trying to play in such a way that it incorporates all of those three elements. But as you play, make it a personal statement. And again, make it something that if someone were to set words to it, it would sound very rich and interesting. Now I'm going to just improvise a little bit for you and hope that I make a statement for you. Now, I'm going to play the song that I wrote for this course, Take It Easy, and I'm going to play along with the background that I've created for this and improvise in a free manner, incorporating all these things we've talked about, the phrasing, the ornamentation, everything we've talked about, the rhythm development, the harmonic awareness, the melodic creation, all of this I'm going to play for you right now against the background that I made. So here I go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now, I'd like to play along rhythm for you and have you join me to the same chords that I just got through playing and improvise while I play background for you. So I'm going to play this rhythm for you now and ask you to join me improvising using all of the things that we have discussed up until now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.